So I'm Karla Goldman, director of the Jewish Communal Leadership Program, and I think I don't really have to tell you that much about the program. I I think that by being here, you really understand what it is that these folks have created and how they have grown. So I was thinking, though, I needed to tell a story. So I remember one that one of my professors in graduate school told when he was trying to teach us about Hasidism. So Elliot, don't leave. Because actually you might be a source on this. When I looked up this story on the internet, it suggested it was a Hasidic story, but there were also suggestions it might be a Chinese story. So you'll maybe be able to tell us. Anyway, this is a story about a simple Hasid, one who had spent Shabbat at the Rebbe's tish, at the Rebbe's table, hearing the Rebbe's highfalutin, very esoteric thoughts, reflecting on the afterlife and heaven and hell. And this simple Hasid, who I'll call Alex, why not, was walking home and thinking, geez, I really didn't understand what the Rebbe was talking about. This heaven and hell, what is that? I can't get my mind around it. And just then, a path opened before Alex, and a cloaked guide appeared by Alex's side. And they followed a path to a broad green meadow of stunning beauty. And in the distance, they saw a beautiful and grand home. And as they came closer, Alex saw it was beyond the realm of anything that Alex had ever imagined. And as they continued, they came to see a series of glorious banquet tables laden with beautiful, exquisite food of infinite variety. Ah, said Alex, so I see. This is heaven. The guide said, no, look a little closer. This is hell. And when Alex looked closer, they saw that despite the fine clothes that the folks at the table were wearing, the people were haggard and skeletal. And again, Alex looked closer and saw that the would-be diners had no elbows. Despite the fact that there was all this food in front of them, they could not eat. Suddenly, Alex was back in the forest, much amazed, but really no more illuminated about the nature of heaven. And then once again, the guide and the path appeared. And Alex followed it, finding again a gorgeous, vibrant field with a beautiful home in the distance. And as they approached the house, Alex began to smell the same beautiful, savory food and saw the same overladen tables. And then again saw the people had no elbows. What? Alex said. Am I back in hell? Look closer, Alex, the guide said. And then Alex saw. It's true, the diners had no elbows, but at this table, they were feeding each other. Ah, now I understand the difference between heaven and hell, Alex said. It's the people who are there. The past 2 academic years that our graduating students have spent in Ann Arbor have not been the cheeriest of times or the most hopeful in our country, in the world, nor even at the University of Michigan or in the School of Social Work, or, I should say, for emphasis, in the Jewish community. And I can't stand here and tell you that I don't myself often feel desperate about the direction of our country, nor that we haven't spent a lot of time commiserating in our classroom. But I will tell you that when people ask me what I do, and then say, "Oy, isn't it terrible what's happening in the Jewish community? Isn't it depressing? Doesn't it seem like there's not much hope?" I say, "Oh, that's so odd that you would say that. I don't feel that way at all." And I realize it's because of the people that I've been spending my time with. And this morning, as Julian shared earlier, I hope that you feel that way too. It is the people around us who make the difference and who I believe will make a difference. Over the last 2 years, these students have challenged each other and themselves. They've learned from and taught the cohort that preceded them, many of whom I'm so glad are here. And they have taught and learned from the students who follow them. In our seminar, we have all been teachers and learners. We have all fed each other. So I now have the opportunity to recognize our graduates. Paige, when you're ready. As Jake mentioned, this is a little bit of our motto. We have these very beautiful certificates. And the motto, which is on your program, and we're looking at from Per K Vote, the work is not yours to finish, but neither are you free to take no part in it. This is ongoing work, and we're very proud that these folks will be a part of it. So we're going to go, just to keep a little suspense in the air, by first name. So Alana, I'm sorry, you're in charge. Alana Goldstein. So Alana, as you've heard, has taken on the challenge of thinking critically about American Jewish community. And she leaves for a new job at the Jewish Federation of Greater Cincinnati, yay, where she is ready to carry out what I really have come to think of as JCLP's prime directive, to strengthen our Jewish institutions by asking them hard questions that they may have been avoiding and helping them themselves ask those questions, and helping them engage constituents that they may not have realized they were not seeing. So one of the things we like to do here is get books for folks to take with them so that they won't feel they have nothing to read. I have two books for Alana. One is Reimagining Leadership in Jewish Organizations by Misha Galperin. And this is interesting. Misha Galperin was the head of the Jewish Agency in the US, and someone who we might think as a real kind of establishment folk. And yet in this book, which is, I shouldn't say yet, and in this book he asks really interesting questions, important questions and ideas about how to sort of renew Jewish leadership and community. So definitely worth looking at. And we also got When They Come For Us, We'll Be Gone, The Epic Struggle to Save Soviet Jewry by Gal Beckerman. And this is a reminder about Kol Yisrael Arevim Zeh B'Zeh, that we are a people that needs to care for each other, and that when institutions that exist, like the Jewish federations, come together, they can really change the world. And we hope that you will do that too.
Eli Zucker.
So, we have been so lucky to have Eli with us to share his critical, questioning, thoughtful, and supportive presence the past few years. A few days ago, Eli and I were talking about his path forward. I was questioning his ideas for his professional identity. And we ended up talking about what it means to grow and evolve as a difference maker throughout one's life. I pulled one of my favorite books off the shelf about 4 young immigrant women who reshaped the American labor movement. At first, as they walked off their job as teenagers and young women, and who then navigated both power and oppression to make a difference throughout their lives and really change the America that we inhabit. This is Common Sense and a Little Fire by Annalise Orlick, about 4 radical Jewish women activists who changed and evolved throughout their life, as I know that Eli will. And it just so happens, this conversation was on Thursday, that I have 2 copies of this book. And I'm now bequeathing one to Eli Zucker, and I hope you don't mind a few annotations.
Erica Golden.
So as Erica shared, she has found many challenges to take on in her time at the University of Michigan, not least of which was dealing with the northern winters. Having deepened and broadened her understanding of Jewish community and history, Erica is now returning to the fascinating 21st century American Jewish community, also a warmer weather of Miami, Florida, where she gets to follow her passion and where she sees the promise for the future in working with Jewish youth at a Reform synagogue there. We've chosen for her a book that will illuminate the origins of this community while also connecting her to her studies here. So this is this wonderful book by my colleague, Deborah Dash Moore, To the Golden Cities, Pursuing the American Jewish Dream in Miami and LA. So a nice signed copy from your professor.
Essie
Essie has been a role model for us all. What Essie shared also was in Essie's journal, and I was very tempted to rip it off to describe what it was that I hoped that JCLP could be, and just loved the way that you put that together. Essie has asked sharp questions and reminded us of our challenges, our possibilities, and our remarkable strengths, and has often also taken on the responsibility of creating a community beyond the classroom, bringing the very best out of the JCLP group. As Essie moves to Chicago and the exciting prospect of working for Keshet, where they completed a field placement last summer, I'm sharing a book by Amy Hoffman, An Army of Ex-Lovers, My Life at the Gay Community News, which is an account of a group that brought forth a new radical vision of what was possible, what had previously been imagined, and worked together to create the world anew. And I know that's something that you're going to be doing. And by the way, all these books are worth reading, right? There were other choices, but like we wanted to choose ones that really would speak to you and that you could.
Alana.
So Ilana has brought an appreciation for Jewish communal possibility, an investment in the Jewish future and its institutions. From her, you heard about the serious work that she has done in re-examining many of those assumptions and in reframing for herself an understanding of what it means to be a part of participating in building Jewish community. You've also heard from her and understood her open heart and her kind spirit. In that vein, in both of those veins, we've gotten her a beautiful book that opens up the beauty, bleakness, complexity, and humanity of the founding of Israel through the eyes of a young boy, Amos Oz. This is his tale of love and darkness, as he tries to understand his parents and the moment he was born into. I know that this book will provide a platform for your continued learning and growth.
Jake.
Here's Jacob Ehrlich. Jake is always so thoughtful, so knowledgeable. When he arrived here, he was already both of those things and very strong in his opinions and stances and aspirations. But despite that, already knowing who he is, already having all of those strengths, he has taken every encounter and discussion as a chance to push himself and his ideas and his understanding further, to look at what's difficult in what's before him, not what is easily understood. Congregation Tehillah and Detroit Jews for Justice and the clients of the Jewish Hospital and Chaplaincy Network in Detroit are so fortunate that Jake will be moving on to share his amazing mix of mind and spirit with them. He will be in a place, hooray, to continue thinking about and shaping the possibilities and shape of American Judaism. So in that spirit, I've gotten him to reflect his own sort of complex thinking, a very complex book. This one might be a little harder to read than the others, but it reflects our faith in you that you can take advantage of it. This is by Shaul Magid. It's called American Post-Judaism, Identity and Renewal in a Post-Ethnic Society, and really thinks about what Judaism will need to look like as our world changes around us.
Leah.
So anyone who has watched Leah make her way through field placements, endless course substitutions, always in search of something that will be more difficult, and trying to find the settings and the opportunities that will be most demanding in the context of the courses, field placements, and activism, also becoming, while a graduate student, a professional evaluation consultant, will appreciate not only her critical questioning mind, but also the way that she seeks to ground her critiques and her understanding in serious knowledge and analysis. Leah has pushed us all to hold out expectations for what we should be looking for courageous moral leadership. And those are not so easy to find, because a lot of the time in the School of Social Work and in our program, we talk about the realm of the possible, not always about sort of the impossible, not always the sky, because we want people to sort of learn how to be effective. But one of the wonderful things about this group is to hold on to the possibility of a radical vision. So for Leah, got this interesting book by Susan Rosenberg. It's called An American Radical. She was somebody who was imprisoned for her work in the Weather Underground, her work for a bombing, who writes about her through that time, her time in prison. She was ultimately pardoned by Barack Obama, I believe, and her work since then. And what's amazing about this is sort of a lesson about how you can be a leader in any circumstances and try to hold on to your vision and sort of think about how it fits with the world that you're in or how it doesn't. So I think that this will be, the other books that I thought about for Leah were, immediately came to mind was Emma Goldman, who was someone who stuck to sort of her moral vision and her political vision no matter what came, and I recommend that to you to read her autobiography. But I thought that somebody sort of who was more contemporary would be a different kind of challenge than someone who was the beginning of the 20th century. So a few final words. As I shared with our students a few weeks ago, it was just about 10 years ago that I was sitting in my office in Brookline, Massachusetts at the American Jewish Archive, sorry, it's a bad slip, at the Jewish Women's Archive. And I was dreaming and writing about what might be possible should I come, as I was planning to then, to the University of Michigan. As I wrote then, I hoped that the program I would work to create here would serve future leaders who would help push the Jewish community to look outward as well as inward. I hope they would develop a responsive and nuanced understanding of the enduring complexity of the American Jewish community and its responsibilities in the context of our multicultural society. I hoped we would create alumni who would lead their communities in working positively within the Jewish community and with other groups to create a more vibrant American society. I already thanked these students, for helping my dreams of 10 years ago come true. But I realize now that when I thought about this role, I was focusing on embracing the challenges of taking on Jewish communal issues in a serious way and of finding a way to engage students in that work. What I didn't think about so much and hadn't planned on was how much my challenge and growth would come from getting to share in my students' perspectives, questions, and their dreams. I hadn't realized that if this effort was successful, I would end up learning at least as much from them as they would from me. We are very lucky here in the Jewish Communal Leadership Program for so many things. For the support of the School of Social Work and the Frankel Center, for the many faculty from both those programs who are here, for the generosity of current and past donors, for the many, many folks, many of whom are here, like Tilly Shamez, Sarai Brockman-Shope, Irene Butter, all of whom have spoken at previous JCLP graduations, but also Eileen Freed. I know there are others here. Sue Crabb, Alana Alpert, who have really been there for and taught our students. I've been a part of their experience here. For Paige Walker, who has invested herself so much in the good and welfare of these students and of our program. And for, in general, our families and a very generous and supportive community that we get to be a part of. But right now, what I feel most grateful for is these human beings, these graduates who have come to grow here, and for the opportunity we've had to learn from and with each other. Thank you for showing that no matter the challenges we face, we can find a way to feed each other. Thank you, everybody. We have a closing song.